Alright, so last evening, Aidan, after we discovered that it had spark, Aidan finished reassembling everything. The only thing that's not put back together is we still need to put the drive belt on and the blade adapter and the blade.
And the filter.
And the air filter, yeah. I just actually put oil in it and checked the oil level. The oil level is now good. And we're going to put a little bit of gas in it and see if we can get it to run. If it seems like it runs okay, then we'll end up sharpening the blade and putting a blade on it, and we'll either get a replacement air filter or try and use that one. We'll see how it goes. We put some gas in the tank. We don't want to put too much in there in case we end up having to remove the tank or the gas line off the carburetor to do more carburetor work or whatever. So at this point, we're actually ready to attempt to start it. This mower does not have a choke. It has a primer bulb. So my recommendation, Aidan, is probably, since we know that the carburetor is bone dry more than likely,
Press it.
it should be, the bowl should be filling up. Press it about 5 times. Does it feel like it's getting harder when you press it?
A little bit, just a little bit.
All right, well, give it a couple more. That's plenty. Now you got to hold that bar down, otherwise you won't have any spark. Go ahead. Yep, that's something. Go ahead. Try again.
Something just came off.
Maybe something just came off. Oh, it blew that little hose out. Now, don't worry about that. I'll tell you right now.
Is this supposed to do that?
No. You know, a couple times I wouldn't think anything of it, but the fact that it does it every single time you pull it and it fires, I think the ignition timing is off on this thing. You remember what I told you about the ignition timing? What's the ignition timing controlled by?
That thing that moves.
The thing that moves. All right, try and be a little more specific so you sound like you actually made a guess.
I don't know what to call it. Like
What makes the spark?
the flywheel.
So what is going to determine when it fires?
The
When it fires a spark?
ignition coil.
Yeah, it's the position of the ignition coil to what?
The
What's on the flywheel?
magnets.
Right. And do you remember what I said about how that flywheel has to be on there a very specific way? What keeps it in position?
The key.
The key. And what did I say can sometimes happen?
The key might.
The key might shear. The key may have broken and allowed the flywheel to actually rotate on the crankshaft a little bit, so that now the ignition spark is happening when the intake valve is open. And that's why we're seeing the bang. Remember? Suck, press, bang, blow. We're seeing the bang come out of the carburetor because that intake valve is open. Hopefully that's what it is, because if not, it means that the intake valve is stuck open, which is bad, because then it means it's probably...
So it won't work if we leave this up.
If you leave it up, you get no spark at all. If you leave it up, there's a switch over there. The wire touches the thing and kills it. So try it a couple more times, but I think we're gonna have to take that flywheel off. Yeah, it shouldn't be doing that. I think we need to check the ignition timing.
Wait, I'm gonna try it like this, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Nope.
Why do you think that is? Do you think maybe the old man's right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. This is a kill switch or a dead man switch. You're going along mowing, you have a heart attack, this shuts it off so that while you're dying, the neighbors don't have to hear the mower just running and not doing it for hours. Right? But I'd be willing to bet dollars to donuts.
Broke it. Broke it.
Because what did I tell you? Do you remember when we were talking
It
about the
pulls
4-stroke?
from
It
you.
rips it out of your knuckles?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it just did. Man, that hurt. That piece of plastic hit me right there like a bullet.
truck.
Yeah. But we gotta find out why it's doing that first.
Back to the drive.
I worked on a mower almost identical to this that the same exact thing happened. The flywheel key the flywheel key sheared, and it was doing that. Every time you went to start it, it would yank this out of your hand.
There should be a key in here.
Well, no, I've got new ones down in the basement. We can use new ones. So we're gonna take that apart. We're gonna pull the flywheel off, and normally, if the blade was still on here, we could wedge a small piece of like 2x4 block wood in there between the blade and the underside of this, and that'd keep the crankshaft from wanting to turn, and then we could break this free. But we still have the blade adapter and the blade off, so what we're going to try is we're going to try an impact gun, because I've had good luck in the past doing it this way. So what the impact gun does is not only does it unscrew, but it tends to bang as it unscrews, so it puts force on it really quickly, and it's going to have a tendency to want to rotate the crankshaft backwards. But if we can try and rotate that nut, and it'll bang on that thing and rotate it a little faster than the crankshaft can turn, it'll possibly break it free. So go ahead and plug this in. Alright, so the important thing is to make sure we go in the right direction. We know that this rotates clockwise, so I want to go counterclockwise. So let's give this a shot. See how easy that makes that job? Don't pull it yet. Chances are it's not going to pop off. We're going to probably have to put a puller on it. The reason why I didn't want you to pull it yet is because I want to look at if I could see the keyway. So what's happening is when the piston's coming up on the compression stroke, before it gets to the top of the stroke, if it fires, it wants to it bangs the piston and wants to make this go in the opposite direction. That's what's ripping the thing out of our hands and causing it to backfire. What has to happen is the piston has to come up all the way to the top, and the camshaft has to get over that point where it starts to change direction. Right when it's starting to change direction, that's when the spark needs to happen. That'll give us maximum power, but it won't allow, when the piston comes slamming down, it won't allow the crankshaft to go the wrong way. So, in other words, here's our piston and our crankshaft, right? So let's say that this is always going to go in this direction. We always want to go in this direction, right? So there's the pistons at the bottom of the cylinder, right? So let's say this is on the compression stroke, and here's the piston that's coming up. All right, right there is the very point where it's at what they call top dead center. In other words, this piston can't go up any further. As the crankshaft continues to rotate, it's going to start going down. All right, so what happens is it's on its way up. Okay, if it's at this point right here and it fires, well, the crankshaft could go either way. We don't want that. So we want it to fire right when it gets just past it. That way, when this piston gets pushed down, look what it does. It makes that crankshaft go in the same direction. But what if it's on its way up, and before it gets all the way to past that point, what if back here, just that little bit back here, what if it fires there? What's going to happen?
Go backwards.
It's going to do this. It's going to throw it backwards, and that's what's happening inside there. So it doesn't take much of a rotation of this thing to screw it up. It's very easy for this flywheel to snap. It's just a casting. Sometimes they'll have holes like this right here that'll have threads in them, so you can put a puller right on this part, which is thicker, but these holes aren't threaded at all, so that's not how they intended for this to be pulled.
It's coming up a little bit.
Is it?
Yeah.
Good. If this wasn't such a cheesy aluminum flywheel casting, then I would put the impact driver on it, and it would pop right off. Oh, come on.
Why don't
There it is.
Why don't they do it steel?
I Huh?
Why don't they do steel casting?
Cheaper. Cheaper and lighter.
Bent a little bit.
Yeah, you know what though? That doesn't look bad enough to... Well, maybe. It's not as definitive as I had hoped though. The keyway doesn't look that bad. No, that keyway looks fine. What a bummer indeed.
Maybe because it was loose, it moved a little bit.
It wasn't loose though. You saw how tight that was?
But like how it is right now. See how it's crooked again? It was like that before.
It's got a very unique shape to it. Brake.
Yeah, goes underneath it. Oh,
That acts as a brake.
I got it.
Alright, come on. That's only a couple of degrees that it moves. Alright, we reinstalled the flywheel just for the heck of it. Might have been a few degrees we were able to change its relationship and see whether or not that made a difference. Put a new puller on. So go ahead, pull the handle, hold the handle. There you go. Try it. Alright. Try the primer bulb. Give it about 3 pushes. Try it again. Let's see, is there a knot in the end of that rope? Because if there is, then it just means it pulled through. I ripped the damn rope again. Now the rope's going to be too short, I bet.
No, the knot just came out. Nothing in here.
Oh yeah, that's weird. You know, we could try a double knot. I tried putting a knot at the very, very end to try and save the amount of rope that was left, and I think that what happened was it pulled through. Let go. Put it too close to the end. And now it's not going to go through this hole. Of course not. That'd be too easy. I gotta get something sharp to push this through. Alright, we re-knotted this thing. Let's try it again. Did it again?
Yeah, it hit me right here.
Yeah, hit you in the same spot. Now we've both been inducted into the Craptacular Hall of Fame.
Look at it now.
Oh yeah. Alright. Don't tell anybody in school that you were beaten by your parents. Hurts, huh? Yeah, look at. Well, mine's just red. You might have a good black. Oh, that's going to be black and blue. Well, the internet to the rescue. Just because I wanted to confirm my suspicion that it was the sheared, that there was still something wrong with the ignition timing relationship, I found out something I never knew, which is that on these one-pole start type mowers, that it's critical to have the lawnmower blade on the mower, because the lawnmower blade acts as an additional flywheel, so to speak. It gives that additional inertia to make sure that the piston gets past that point of no return, so to speak. So the two possibilities that are typical of this problem are A, that the mower blade is loose or not on the mower, and B, that the flywheel key is sheared. Well, the flywheel key doesn't appear to be sheared to us, so of course we do know for a fact that we have the blade off of this thing. So that's probably our whole problem here. So we're going to throw the blade adapter and the blade back on and try this again. Alright, so we decided to install the belt and the belt cover and everything, and the blade. So basically it's almost all put back together except for the shroud on the top. Go ahead and reconnect the spark plug wire, Aidan, for safety purposes. We had that disconnected while we were messing around with the thing. Okay.
I'm pulling it slowly this time.
Well, you're gonna have to give it a... Yeah, go ahead. Give it a shot.
I'm gonna just push. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Can't hear it from my house.
Can you pull? I don't want to get hurt.
Okay, alright. right, go ahead. Give me It sounds pretty good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish put that cover on the top, and we'll run it along, and we'll see if it leaks any oil or gas, and then be all set.
We put a lot of blood in there.
Blood. You get a bruise. You want to show everybody your bruise? Let me see it. Let's see it. Oh yeah, it's not even bruised. It's just a red. It's a rope burn, is what it is. That's a rite of passage into manhood. All right, so we installed the air filter and everything. So all we're gonna do now is we're gonna do a test of the self-propelled, make sure that works. So go ahead. Give it a you can't push the primer bulb 3 times. Now it'll start. Gotta give more than that. Oil. All right. Turn down. There's still oil and other garbage probably in that cylinder. That's what that smoke is. Now, if it does it every time we start that, then we're gonna worry about something else. But if it just cleans itself out after running it for a little while, then I wouldn't worry about it. All right, we got the height set to maximum. Let's go try and cut some grass. Just rained, so grass is kind of wet for this, but he forgets that if you let go of that handle, it shuts right off. Grass is way too tall for us to be trying to mulch it. But if we put the bag on, he'll be emptying the bag every 2 passes. All right, that's good.
What?
That's good. The grass is too tall and too wet to be mulching, so that's why it's kind of like laboring. Look at the smoke coming out of that thing. That's oil on the outside of the engine. It's burning off from the heat. And, well, actually also parts washer residue probably still on there too. Go ahead, start it up and just run it back to the house on the road so it'll cool off some and clear out some of that grass. All right, that's just about a wrap. We're gonna recheck the oil level and make sure it's safe. So, pull it out, wipe it clean with the rag. Go ahead. All right, stick it all the way down in. You don't have to screw it on, just so it fully seats. There you go. Now pull it out. Let's look at the level.
Full.
Yeah, it's actually a little, hold on. You know what? I might have overfilled that just a tiny bit. Yeah,